Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head 100 times, wondering what you should have said, what you could have done differently, why someone treated you that way? Most women think emotional intelligence is about understanding others, but emotionally intelligent women know something different. They know that one habit silently destroys confidence, self-worth, and happiness, and they refuse to do it. Imagine carrying a backpack every single day. At first, it's empty. Then someone criticizes you, a stone goes into the backpack. Someone rejects you, another stone. A relationship ends, another stone. Someone ghosts you, another stone. Years pass, and eventually you're carrying a backpack so heavy that every step feels exhausting. Now here's the interesting part. The weight isn't coming from what happened, it's coming from what you're still carrying. Emotionally intelligent women understand a powerful truth. Not everything deserves a permanent place in your mind. Yet many women spend years mentally reliving painful moments. The argument, the betrayal, the rejection, the breakup, the mistake. They replay these moments over and over, hoping to find answers. But instead, they become trapped inside them. Psychologists call this rumination. It's when your mind continuously circles the same painful thoughts without reaching a solution. And research shows that rumination is strongly linked to anxiety, stress, depression, and lower self-esteem. But emotionally intelligent women do something differently. They process, then they release. Notice the difference. Processing means learning. Rumination means suffering. Processing asks, what can this teach me? Rumination asks, why did this happen to me? Again and again and again. One question creates growth, the other creates emotional exhaustion. Think about a woman who gets rejected. One woman thinks, I'm not good enough. She spends months analyzing every detail, every text message, every conversation, every possibility. Another woman thinks, that hurt, but not every connection is meant to last. She learns what she can, then she moves forward. Both experience the same event, but only one allowed it to define her. Emotionally intelligent women understand that closure is often something you give yourself, not something someone else gives you. Many people spend years waiting for an apology, waiting for an explanation, waiting for justice, waiting for the perfect conversation that will finally make everything make sense. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes people leave without explaining. Sometimes people hurt you and never apologize. Sometimes you never get the answers you deserve. And emotionally intelligent women know that healing cannot depend on someone else's behavior. Because if your peace depends on another person, your peace is never truly yours. That's why they stop chasing closure from others and start creating closure within themselves. Another habit emotionally intelligent women avoid is taking everything personally. This doesn't mean they don't care. It means they understand human behavior. Most people's actions say more about them than about you. The rude comment, the criticism, the cold response, the lack of appreciation. Often, these things are reflections of another person's stress, fears, insecurities, or emotional state. Yet many women automatically assume it must be me. Emotionally intelligent women pause before making that assumption. They ask themselves, is this really about me? And surprisingly often, the answer is no. This mindset creates emotional freedom because you stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours to begin with. Now let's talk about boundaries. One of the biggest mistakes women make is believing that being kind means saying yes to everything. Emotionally intelligent women know that's not true. They understand that kindness without boundaries eventually becomes resentment. Every time you ignore your needs to please someone else, you're sending yourself a message. You're saying, my feelings matter less. My time matters less. My energy matters less. And over time, self-respect begins to disappear. Emotionally intelligent women know that boundaries are not walls. They're filters. They don't keep good people out, they keep unhealthy behavior from taking over your life. And perhaps most importantly, emotionally intelligent women stop trying to earn their worth. Read that again. They stop trying to earn their worth. Many women spend years believing they must prove themselves. Be prettier, more successful, more helpful, more understanding, more patient, more perfect. Then they'll finally feel worthy. But worthiness doesn't work that way. Your value doesn't increase because someone chooses you, and it doesn't decrease because someone rejects you. Your value exists before anyone approves of you. Emotionally intelligent women understand this, and because they understand it, they stop chasing validation. They stop begging for attention. They stop shrinking themselves to make others comfortable. They stop performing for acceptance. Instead, they begin living from a place of self-respect. And self-respect changes everything. Because once you respect yourself, you stop tolerating things that damage your peace. You stop staying where you're constantly hurt. You stop explaining your value to people determined not to see it. And you stop abandoning yourself for relationships that require you to become someone else. So remember this, the one thing emotionally intelligent women never do, they never allow temporary experiences to become permanent definitions of who they are. A rejection is not your identity. A mistake is not your identity. A breakup is not your identity. A failure is not your identity. These are experiences, not definitions. And the moment you understand that, everything starts to change. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize something strange. The things that once kept you awake at night don't have power over you anymore. The person whose approval you desperately wanted no longer occupies your thoughts. The rejection that once felt unbearable has become just a memory, and the mistake you couldn't forgive yourself for no longer defines your future. Not because the past changed, but because you changed. That's the part nobody talks about. Healing isn't becoming a different person. Healing is returning to who you were before fear convinced you that you weren't enough, before rejection convinced you that you were unlovable, before disappointment convinced you that you should settle for less. The strongest women aren't the women who never get hurt. They're the women who refuse to let pain become their identity. They're the women who continue loving after heartbreak, who continue trusting themselves after mistakes, who continue moving forward even when they don't have all the answers. And maybe that's where your power has been all along. Not in controlling what happens to you, not in controlling other people, not in avoiding pain, but in choosing who you become because of it. So if there's one thing I want you to remember after watching this video, it's this. You do not need to become more worthy. You do not need to become more lovable. You do not need to become more enough. You already are. The real journey is not discovering your value. It's remembering the value that was always there. And when you finally remember that, you stop chasing, you stop proving, you stop begging, you stop shrinking, and you start living the way you were meant to live, free, confident, peaceful, and completely yourself. The most emotionally intelligent woman in the room is usually the one who finally understands that her worth was never up for debate. If this message resonated with you, let it be a reminder today. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you choose to believe about yourself after it happened. And that choice can change everything. And maybe the next chapter of your life begins the moment you stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start remembering that you always were.